Welcome back everyone. We're ready to take the next step on our journey. We're heading towards the Pokemon League. And given that last episode was all about negativity, me grumbling a lot about things I don't like in the series, let's take some time to talk about some positives. So we'll just cross the water and run into a wild Pokemon. That's not a positive. We've got our team back. Polari is in front for the moment. So, positives. I've talked about a lot of things I don't like, such as running into wild Pokemon after taking 2 steps. Anyway, it's time to talk about some of the things I do like, just after we speak to this guy who will tell us we've taken our first steps into Kanto. And it will actually show on the Pokegear. There we are in Kanto. So, as I said, I talked about a lot of the things I don't like, but it's time to talk about some of the things I do like. Also worth noting, you can find some items along the way, but I think you need Whirlpool. Can Goldeen learn it? So, I mentioned some of the games that I don't necessarily like, but even then I do like certain elements about them. I mentioned the Hoenn remakes. I'm a big fan of the originals. I think there's a lot of charm and character in the Hoenn. Excuse me while I put on a rappel. I think it's probably because I spent a lot of time with the Game Boy Advance games that I have a lot of fondness for them. I played Ruby, Sapphire and Emerald a lot, so I'm pretty much used to all the Hoenn Pokemon and find them really enjoyable to use. I didn't play Fire Red and Leaf Green as much, so I don't have as much nostalgia for them. I'm generally more nostalgic for Red and Blue because I played those a lot, and I do appreciate all the glitches. But I just find that there's something about the Hoenn games, just all the little technological improvements, the different Pokemon they have, sort of the fact that you could tell Pokemon was continuing to take, in my eyes anyway, some pretty good steps forward. I don't blame it for the fact that you couldn't connect with the previous games because that was a technological necessity. You still got some very good Pokemon out of it, and there were some very good games in Generation 3. So here we are, we're getting TM37, which is Sandstorm. I also appreciate Pokemon Colosseum a lot. I haven't played XD, which I regret, but Colosseum was a lot of fun. A fantastic villain team, a pretty good plot, and Mirror B. So we're going to be battling an opponent. I also have the somewhat controversial opinion, for some people anyway, that I really liked Black and White. The plot was good even if they did have to ignore a lot of things that happened in Heart Gold and Soul Silver for it to all make sense. Polari's not going to do too well here, admittedly. We'll just use Thunder Wave and then we'll probably switch to Torture. But I liked the plot. I like the fact they actually did try and make a meaningful plot that didn't sort of bog you down with everything. And I really did appreciate all the different Pokemon. They were familiar enough in some cases, but they were also very different. And that was really good. I liked picking up those Pokemon, using all new ones for the first time in a very long time, and just seeing what was available. They had some pretty memorable characters, some good battles, and they subverted a lot of things too. And sometimes it can be very difficult for people to deal with deconstructions, because essentially everything you know and love is being put under the microscope and some of the issues are actually being brought to the surface. There were a few genuine problems with Black and White, but overall, I think they hold up quite well, and will continue to do so. I wasn't quite as fond of Black and White 2, but they were still pretty good games nonetheless. And again, another slightly odd opinion, I actually enjoyed the plot in the original Sun and Moon. Even if everything did bog you down, and I do admit that I don't like the fact that the Alola games are essentially forced tutorial the video game, I appreciated the fact there was actually a morally ambiguous villain character. I appreciated what they did with Lusamine and how much they made you think about what was her doing and what was Nihiligo's influence. It made you stop and think, and I really enjoyed that. I didn't really like what they did in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. It sort of went back to sort of Saturday morning cartoon bad guys and the comically, and not in a good comically. Actually, let me rephrase that. The ridiculously overpowered Ultra Necrozma, which was essentially pointless. It didn't need to exist. But it does, and it essentially breaks the game. Sucks to be you if you're playing a Nuzlocke. But I did like a lot of the Pokemon designs in Alola. I found them really enjoyable, and Polaria's not having any luck whatsoever. I've mostly liked a lot of Pokemon designs over the years. There are very few Pokemon I would say I genuinely hate. There are plenty I dislike, but that's probably the hype surrounding them. I have used Lucario, it's a good Pokemon, but I admit that I don't really like how overhyped it is. Same deal with Charizard. If you take away the hype, they're actually pretty good. I will admit I have a grudge against the Metatide line for being responsible for my only 2 losses in a Nuzlocke challenge. But I really don't hate a lot of Pokemon. I'll mock some of them for being crap. But at the end of the day, I don't think I genuinely hate anything. There aren't any characters I really genuinely hate as far as the human players go as well. So, Quagsire. What's our best option against Quagsire? Probably Dash. I'll give Dash a run. Because it's not Polari's day either. But yeah, in all fairness, for all the grumbling I have, I would honestly say there's a lot more I like about the series than I hate, to be honest. I mean, I can find good points about the games I've ragged on. And I always do try to do that. So really, this series has given me a lot over the years. It's been so enjoyable for so long. We'll take out Execute with Shadow Ball. We can probably put Sunny back on the team if we make it to Cerulean City too. Yeah, overall, I really think the Pokemon series has got more right than it's got wrong. I do wish they'd continue some of the unique traits they've given the regions. For example, the Dex Nav. That was a brilliant feature, and I don't know why they didn't continue it. Well, to be honest, I probably do. The developers have mentioned they try and give each region something unique. It's pretty cool, but at the same time, it does get annoying when you come up with a really good feature that doesn't get used again. So, Brian... I'm sorry, Polari, I'm trying. You and Gibson haven't had that much time in the spotlight. Mersey's the choice for this one. But yeah, in all honesty, there's a lot to love about it. Like, I'm going to explain exactly why I like Sabrina later on. But, for example, like the reason I liked Steven, I liked his battle theme, I liked his style, I liked the Pokemon he had, because I always thought Steel types were pretty interesting but needed a bit more focus. And they got that with Steven. I really appreciate that. And I like the fact that he actually helped you out in Emerald. I wished you could actually battle him again in his bonus battle in the post-game. I'm really sad you couldn't. Because he had a pretty damn impressive team. Essentially just his champion team, but like 20 levels stronger, and it was a good challenge. I'm not as fond of Wallace as a champion, but it's more the limitation that you've been fighting water types a lot in Emerald. You fight Team Aqua more often, you've already fought one who has a very similar team, so in that sense, Wallace probably wasn't a good choice for the champion role. They didn't do him any services by giving him that ridiculous outfit in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire either. What was with that? But overall, not a bad character. Just has the unfortunate downside of being a water type user in a game where you've already dealt with a lot of water type Pokemon. And given that the end of the game is basically surfing, you will have a dedicated water-type killer on your team. And as for my other favourite characters, I think the reason I like Byron is probably his portrayal in the anime. I like steel types, so there's that. I've definitely preferred Bastiodon over Rampardos, so somebody using that was pretty good. And of course, the fact that he is just an absolute ham in the anime and is a lot of fun to watch as a result. Lucian, I mentioned that I have a somewhat similar personality to Lucian. I like using psychic types as well. I always enjoy reading a good book. I always have. I used to finish my work at school earlier and then disappear off to the library because the teachers didn't know what to do with me. And it does help calm my nerves, which is apparently why Lucian likes reading a lot, because it helps him stay focused. And of course, we've both got the nice glasses. So that's just sort of a little personal connection there. Flannery I like because she's drop-dead gorgeous. And Jasmine because she has that sort of sweet and demure personality, but is really strong as well. I mean, you saw what she did when I underestimated her. So we've beaten our Psychic, and we continue on the path. Let's see if Goldeen can learn Whirlpool. Because if it can, there's an item nearby I can grab. I'm pretty sure Mersey can, but I'm not going to teach Mersey Whirlpool. Goldeen cannot learn Whirlpool. So I'll probably have to come back at some point. That's pretty good vision. I thought I could sneak past. This is probably the best area for training in Gold and Silver because you will have Pokemon close to level 30. Starmie, finally something good for Polari to face. I'll have to make sure he gets Thunder when we can buy it. Yeah, really, I'd like to hear more about what you like about the series. Leave some comments, your favourite games, your favourite trainers, your favourite Pokemon, and tell me why, because I'm really interested in finding out, in sharing all these positive experiences that have made the Pokemon series so good for you. I think we'll switch to Gibson here. Because honestly, it's done a lot. I really appreciate what it's done, and I am genuinely looking forward to Sword and Shield. I'm not fussed about the National Dex issue at all. Maybe you can nitpick about the graphics along the way, but to be honest, it would take a lot of work getting... I think they've said there are over 1,000 Pokemon with all the Galarian ones now. So we're going to get plenty, you know that. It would be a lot of work, and I appreciate all the effort the developers put in. So honestly, let's see how they go. Let's judge them on their own merits. And yes, it's frustrating that we're not going to be able to get the National Dex and have every Pokemon. It's a bit annoying for completionists and the like. But I think there's going to be a lot to enjoy as well. It's something I do consider important. Try and judge things on their own merits, because I've often found gems in games that aren't as well regarded. Let's take one of my favourite games, Bomberman 64. It's not great according to the critics. Good, but not great. But I've had so much entertainment out of it over the years. My brother picked up a second-hand copy for $20 and he says it's the best $20 he ever spent because we've had so much fun out of the multiplayer. It's coming up on 20 years since he got that. And it's still funny. It's still a hoot playing the multiplayer and just having sheer chaos unfold. So find things you like, and it doesn't matter if they're not that good. You can get some entertainment out of things that are so bad they're good. I mean, people tend to enjoy things like The Room. Find enjoyment in all sorts of things. Share what you like. I'm really, really happy to hear it, to be honest. And there we are. We brought some negativity into the world in the last episode, which we probably don't need. We definitely don't need, I'd say. And now, A little bit of positivity. And speaking of positivity, the whole team's at level 39, so let's bring on some positive polarity and keep using Polari. Actually, let me rephrase that. Let's bring some positive polarity and power through with Polari. Alliteration's a bit better, and I think we've got a fisherman for him to take on. Well, are you ready to face the league champion? Let me test your team. Keep in mind that if he's using water types, he might have an advantage against a couple of the league champions Pokemon. I mean, absolutely no spoilers. We know who we're going to face. It's pretty much common knowledge by this point. There's Quillfish. I do need to use that sometime if I ever catch it. I mean, in other games, I've already got Mersey, and she's not leaving. Seaking. Another one I haven't really used. It's kind of unfortunate that some of those fish Pokemon are fairly unremarkable. I mean, they do have some pretty nice designs along the way. It's just that with the abundance of water types that exist, some of them are going to get swept under the rug. I mean, you have so many to choose from, and there are some that just stand out. Like, Goldeen and Seaking were mostly remarkable for actually learning an HM move in this generation, the first ones to do so. And say Finneon and Lumineon. They're decent Pokemon, probably not outstanding. But because you're going to find better water types earlier, and because one of your starters is always a water type, if they don't really stand out, they're not going to do well. I mean, because they're just sort of average, they don't even have anything going for them like Love Disc, which you can ironically enjoy because of how crap it is. Though that does allow me to share a really good story. We were travelling back from my nan's funeral last year. We'd taken a stop off in the morning because we'd been getting going pretty early. We'd stayed overnight on the way home, and we were stuffing around getting some breakfast, and my brother sort of wandered off. I'm trying to work out what he's doing, and we're getting ready to go, so I've called him over, and he's mentioned that he's got distracted by something. Because he was playing Pokemon Go at the time, and I'm wondering why he was holding us up, and he showed me that he'd found a shiny Love Disc. I had to laugh and jokingly told him it was not worth holding us up for, and he admitted that yes, that was probably the case, but it was still worth having anyway. And to be honest, I think I'd probably say that where it counts, my brother does have a heart of gold. A bit laid back in some things, but you know he's going to come through when it counts. Okay, Swift's not doing too much. Try Thundershock. Unfortunately, special defense is not that great. For the record, level 36 is when Espeon learns Psybeam. It will have to make do with Confusion until then, but then again it's not too bad. Alright Polari, let's keep going. Oh, not quite. Odd that it's just using Quick Attack. But there we go. Nice job, Polari. That was a good battle. You actually put up a pretty good fight. Alright, let's switch Torture to the front and we'll see what we can do. Now, if you wander around... It's just up there, I think? Or is it down here? No, this is the path back. It's a bit further up, but what I was looking for is the House of the Day of the Week siblings. You will find a book that shows their locations there. So if you want to grab some items that power up various type moves, you can head on there. So let's see, if you branch off around about here through that patch of grass, you'll be able to find it. I think if we head into this house here, we can actually heal our team. There we are, we have. So we have a few more opponents to go. Alrighty, away we go. So she's got Pikachu, probably won't be much trouble for torture. Some fairly high level Pokemon at least. Things have finally caught up to where we're supposed to be. I'm not sure if I'm under-leveled for this point, admittedly, but we will have to do some level grinding if we want to take on the Elite Four. I'll probably need my team round about the mid-40s, high 40s. Oh, Blastoise. Polari, you're up. So you know what? Let's make Blastoise our spotlight Pokemon, because it rocks. Version mascot, starter Pokemon, and all-around badass. Blastoise has a pretty iconic design. It's one of the more famous Pokemon from the original generation. Despite the fact it looks like it's packing some serious firepower, its special attack is only middling. However, it is fairly bulky, and a well-trained Blastoise can shrug off quite a few attacks. As a water type, Blastoise has it pretty easy. It can learn Surf, which makes it an extremely useful Pokemon to have on your team. Water-type starters have always been that little bit more versatile than Fire and Grass starters, and the fact it can learn Ice Beam via TM just made life difficult for poor old Venusaur. If you want Blastoise to start packing some firepower, you'll have to wait until Generation 6 when it gains its Mega Evolution and the potent Mega Launcher ability. That big cannon on its back is going to hurt when it lands a blow. No matter which generation you use it in, Blastoise is going to be a very reliable ally. As one of the most iconic Pokemon from the original generation, you really can't go wrong with this one. And let's try to take it down. It has pretty good defenses, as you've just seen. So Polari might not do huge amounts of damage. Well, that's actually pretty decent. I suppose it's because I am a fair bit higher level than it. And a couple of Thunder Shocks and Blastoise is down. There we are. Well, we've been going for a fair while. I think this is probably a good place to wrap it up. We'll grab an Ice Berry on the way. So we're going to be making our final charge after this. Thank you very much for joining me, and I will see you in the next installment of our scenic tour through the Johto region.